What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, well, not of course, actually, with me, James Babyface Grande, not looking like a baby so much. Got that nice little bushy goatee you got going on there. But it is time to start talking about taking a look at some DFS here for week 17. I mean, listen, we're just trying to get we're just trying to get you guys prepared for DFS this week. I think the most important thing for you guys to talk about here, or for at least us to talk about, is what the news is in the NFL right now. Because I'll tell you what, James, I've been trying to figure out, players for the watch list, and I've been putting them in, and then literally 10 minutes later, I'm taking out like six names because of all of this. How are you feeling about playing some DFS NFL this week?
I mean, good thing the NBA is going on, right, Howard? No, I mean, look, there's a lot of teams still involved in playoff races, so, that's cool. But all the guys we want to play are not. So it's ugly, and it's seemingly there's going to be fifth string tackles starting, as we've learned, and third string running backs starting everywhere. So not so fun, but I mean, considering the Giants are the 13th seed in the NFC right now, and they're still jockeying for a playoff spot, speaks to how many teams are actually kind of still alive in the playoff picture.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to actually play DFS for this week, then what you need to focus on is who's got something to play for.
Right.
We already know that we're going to be losing a ton of players right now. I mean, the Chiefs aren't going to use any of their starters. We just found out Dalvin Cook is going to be out for this week. He has a family emergency. Who knows if Alex Madison's going to get cleared from concussion protocol? It could be Mike Boone all over again. But what we have to focus on are teams who are, we have to understand who's going to sit players, and we then have to understand who's got something to play for. So let's just kind of go through some of the top things that are going on right now and how they're going to impact DFS. Besides no Chiefs, how about this? The Steelers sitting Big Ben Roethlisberger, which Mason Rudolph, I mean, let's face it. Are you going to even remotely want to play Deontay Washington, Deontay Johnson, even James Washington for that matter, Juju Smith-Schuster, Eric Ebron, or any of these guys, knowing that what the Steelers are doing is they're basically saying, you know what, we don't care about the 2 seed. We're happy taking the 3 seed, and we'll finish it out like that.
Well, Howard, we do have a revenge narrative on our hands because the last time these two teams faced off, Mason Rudolph took a helmet to the face from Myles Garrett. So, but no, ultimately, no, you don't want to play any of these guys. I just wanted to bring that part up that, yeah, that happened, and that is going to be a narrative, I'm sure, somewhere because honestly, we're probably going to be searching for anything for Week 17 DFS since nobody's going to be active. But no, I mean, why would you want to play anyone? I would probably, if playing anyone, probably James Washington just for knowing that like Johnson's going to be limited and Juju's going to be limited. And Washington's that big play threat, but even then, I'm not comfortable doing so.
Yeah, no, I'll bow out of that one there. By the way, isn't Myles Garrett up for like Humanitarian of the Year award this
That
year?
that was interesting. That was an interesting little tidbit that did happen, and yeah, I guess people change over a year, right? One year you're hitting people with helmets, and the other you're just doing great things for your community.
COVID puts a man through a lot of changes.
I mean,
Sure.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Well, so now the question is with the move that we're seeing here from the Steelers, are we going to see teams match that move, i.e., the Buffalo Bills? Because the Bills now are sitting in the number 2 seed. If Pittsburgh's basically tanking, Buffalo doesn't need to do anything. So all of a sudden now that could take out Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs comes out. Even Cole Beasley, who didn't have a great game this past week, but still, some of these guys are just not usable right now.
What do you make of like the way that Vegas is kind of moving its lines? Like Pittsburgh, obviously, Cleveland's now up to a 10-point favorite, right? the Buffalo game is interesting because they're still 2-point favorites against Miami. Do you think that fact alone means that we're going to see the Buffalo start their guys and play for that 2 seed, and in case of a matchup against Pittsburgh where they would have the home field advantage?
Um, I'm going to wait and see. I think what's going on right now is that we're just kind of waiting for the
Right.
news. I mean, I'm looking at like the sports book lines right now over at DK, and I believe there's a couple of games that aren't even listed at this point right now because we're not even sure. I'm looking for the oh, they did finally put a line up for Detroit, Minnesota, because we didn't know if Stafford
Right.
technically was going to play or if he wasn't going to play. For me, I mean, listen, when it comes to dealing with the DFS aspect, if there's even remotely a chance of somebody sitting, somebody coming out halfway through the game, then I'm not interested.
Right.
Like, I know you can turn around, you could say Tom Brady last week threw for 300 plus yards and 4 touchdowns and came out for the second half against Detroit. Okay, yeah, fine. That's great. He put up all those numbers and he was able to come out. I don't think we're really at that kind of a situation, with the exception of maybe the Baltimore Ravens taking on Cincinnati. Concerns of yours, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, even Mark Andrews, like coming out in the second half and just not playing because, I mean, listen, I get Cincinnati's played tough the last 2 weeks. Are we banking on them doing it again?
No, but at the same token, Baltimore's defense hasn't been the same defense we saw earlier in the year. I mean, they've played the Jaguars and the Giants last 2 weeks, so it's not like we've really had they've had a tough matchup. The weeks prior, they gave up 42 points to Cleveland. I mean, I think, and plus, we got to consider that Lamar could have 150 rushing yards at half. Cleveland's been a bottom 10 rush defense in the NFL. So, I mean, yes, he is 8K, 9K on FanDuel, DK respectively, or flip that around. But 150 yards, a touchdown on the ground, I don't really worry about that. I think Baltimore is going to play their guys just knowing, I mean, hey, they need the win. There's, 5 teams at 10-5? So, I mean, there could be a lot of movement, and I know it could be a blowout, but I think they're going to play the full game here, and it doesn't really concern me that much.
All right. So you're not concerned about Baltimore. We're obviously not concerned about Miami, another 10-5 team. I mean,
concerned. Well, we're concerned because Tua's probably not going to finish the game.
Tua's just not really that good.
Right.
Myles Gaskin, though, is in play. Mike Gesicki in play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the AFC, we can also take a look at Indianapolis. They're going up against the Jaguars. I mean, we're not loving Phillip Rivers. He's not, gunslinging 350 yards and 4 touchdowns these days. But, Jonathan Taylor, T.Y. Hilton, these guys become in play for you?
Yeah, I actually think Rivers is okay. Like, not that you should be playing cash in week 17, but he's been fairly consistent. 17 plus fantasy points in 6 of 7 games. So, like, there are worse floors than that for the price that he is at 6K. And I think that this could obviously be a ceiling game because Jacksonville's been atrocious against the pass. So, yeah, I think you can load up on Colts here with confidence, even though, they did lose a long season ago. But that week 1 matchup looms large when everyone thought Jacksonville was the truth after winning week 1. And here we are, and they still have 1 win. But yeah, Hilton's fine, especially if Michael Pittman sits, which is a possibility as well. So,
is there any reason not to make or use the chalkiest of chalk stacks at the Tennessee Titans this week? Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, putting them up against the Houston Texans, who have nothing to play for. It might not even have Deshaun Watson in there either.
No, you play them. You play them. But I did want to ask you about I was hoping you'd bring that up because does Houston not have something to play for? I mean, after being called out by J.J. Watt, but plus, should we be looking at teams who could fire their head coach potentially, or head coaches that like Romeo Crennel, who's an interim, who's looking for more long-term work, like doesn't he and his team have something to play for? Like he did say Watson will play if healthy. Doesn't that make you think like, man, if we get a good win under our belt week 17, like maybe there's a possibility I could get extended here, or get a contract from this team or another team looking for a head coach?
I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to hire Romeo Crennel as their head
Well,
coach.
he's just I guess as an example for potential coaches like on the chopping block, like Raheem Morris, who has been pretty good. Atlanta's been better under him than they were Dan Quinn, or I've seen rumblings where like Mike Zimmer could be on the move, or like
Sure.
so like would you consider playing guys from teams with nothing, quote, nothing to play for, but their head coaches are kind of on the chopping block?
I mean, if we're gonna okay, let's take a look at some of this. So Minnesota is obviously one of those teams where, yeah, Mike Zimmer could be on the chopping block against Detroit, who has Darrell Bevel as the interim coach. But I mean, do I see these players playing for these coaches like, wow, this is the be all end all? No, I really don't. Because I mean, frankly, I think that if Minnesota were to just get rid of Mike Zimmer, then we could end up seeing like Gary Kubiak or, and Rick Dennison just elevated a little bit more. You
Right.
put Kubiak in as the head coach. If he wants it, you have him there and you put Dennison as far as like your offensive coordinator possibly, or, you just leave him as your offensive line guy. Um, I think that ownership in Detroit wants something a little bit different than
Right.
Darrell Bevel. Like
Right.
you need to be more innovative with your offense. Like that was one of the big problems with Matt Patricia. There was just no innovation. And he
None.
brought in Darrell Bevel, who just basically brought that run first mentality from Seattle over to Detroit. And I just didn't really see, obviously the usage of DeAndre Swift. Now that's obviously another issue also, is that we have to take a look at the fact that there was no preseason. So how many of these coaches are going to actually get cut loose
Fair.
because of that? Like I could see the interim guys getting booted. If the Chicago Bears don't make the playoffs, I could see Matt Nagy getting kicked out, right? But
Yeah.
I think what everybody wants to do, I think what a lot of teams want to do is they kind of want to look around. They want to see who the flavor of the week is going to be. I mean, besides Eric Bieniemy.
Well, yeah, that's 1A, B, C, and through Z.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants him. So I don't know. Like this Minnesota Detroit game, I was going to talk to you about that. Like, do we want to invest in DFS on these guys? I saw the quarterback coach. You do have Kirk Cousins in there. We do like that, or do we like that? I don't really know if we do. I mean, listen, it's an easy smash spot. Detroit sucks. They're terrible on
Right.
every side of the ball. Um, but I mean, are we looking? Is it going to be Kirk Cousins? Are we going to see some big game from him and Thielen and Justin Jefferson with maybe Madison or at least Mike Boone there? Like, I mean, do you really put the eggs into that basket?
Yeah, because I kind of, I asked you that previous question because I do think that someone like Mike Zimmer has a lot to play for, and does his team respond to being 6-9 going up against arguably the most lifeless team in the NFL after last week? So I do put some stock into that, and I do want to use this Minnesota offense, and I just think even no Dalvin Cook, no Alex Madison just elevates Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen, Big Irv even more because we have Kyle Rudolph out, and we've seen Big Irv and come out with his best game of the year last week. So plus he's someone who's still developing as a second year talent. So I do think that there is a lot of stock in this Minnesota game. Um, More from the Minnesota side, obviously, because Detroit is 30th and against or dead last at allowing fantasy points to both quarterback, running. I mean, everything, as you mentioned. So I am putting stock into Minnesota, Mike Zimmer potentially getting fired, and the response that his team gives him in this Week 17 game.
Okay. Who else is well, I guess Vic Fangio. He's probably on the chopping block as well in Denver. Do you look at this Denver Broncos team going up against the Raiders? Raiders defense soft against the run. We've seen that before. The whole secondary has been sitting on IR now for a few weeks. Does Drew Lock turn in one of those big games that he has? What he's done it twice. He's done it twice this year.
Yeah, in 2 weeks in a row, and then he hasn't done anything else. For Fangio, I feel like he deserves another chance because the weapons are there, and he's unfortunately had a lot of injuries on his defensive side of the ball. He just needs a new quarterback, and that's clear. So, sure, Drew Lock, fine. I like Derek Carr on the flip side of that game more. Derek Carr has been really good outside of the injury game that he suffered a couple weeks ago. I think someone like Anthony Lynn and the Chargers could be an interesting.
Oh, come on.
I
Dude,
mean, look,
everybody, even the Chargers players themselves hate Anthony Lynn as a coach.
Right, but that hating Anthony Lynn and Anthony Lynn forcing his starters to play every snap are two different things. Like, I don't see a scenario where Justin Herbert isn't, throwing 35 times here and against Kansas City, who is probably going to rest a lot of his regulars. I'm cool with that. I think the Chargers are a pretty interesting play if you're playing into that coaching narrative. But I think Fangio, didn't they already say Fangio will be back next year? I believe they said like he is going to be back, and I hope it's with a new quarterback because Drew, like you said, there's been 2 weeks of sample of Drew Lock dancing, and that the dancing was all cool and whatnot, but when push comes to shove, he has been dreadful a lot of this year.
See, he's definitely been dreadful. Like, I get the coaching narrative that you want to do for the Chargers. For me, it's actually it's not the Anthony Lynn narrative. I think this is more about Justin Herbert wanting to pad that record. Like, he's got the record for touchdowns by a rookie quarterback. He wants to pad that. It's like looking at Green Bay. Like, Aaron Rodgers this weekend is going to throw 62 times. 50 of those times are going to go to Davante Adams, right? And he's going to end up with 17 touchdowns just here in the final week. If Alvin Kamara can rush for 6, Davante Adams can catch 17 touchdowns this week.
True.
So, I guess we kind of have to look at that also as far as narratives go. Who's looking to break some sort of a record? And I don't really think that there are a lot of them out there right now because Frank Gore's hurt. And I always said that with a straight face.
There was never a chance I wasn't going to chuckle at Frank Gore being the first name that you thought of.
Brutal. All right, let me go through some of these games. You tell me who you trust for DFS. How about that?
Okay.
Let's play this one here.
Okay.
All right. Jets, Patriots. You can say nobody. You don't have to give me a player.
Jamison Crowder, pass catchers against New England is fine.
Okay. Dallas against the Giants. Your Giants.
I like Gallup and CeeDee Lamb because I think it's going to be a lot of James Bradbury on Amari Cooper. So CeeDee Lamb out of the slot is going to be the Giants' worst nightmare.
Anybody from the Giants side?
Wayne Gallman would be in play. Daniel Jones just came out and said he's not running until he's healthy. So that is literally what makes him go and opens up, the downfield work. So I don't love the Giants. Maybe Sterling Shepard. But like other than last week, have we seen true upside from Sterling Shepard that you could be like, you know what? Sterling Shepard can win me a tournament. He's done it once.
Yeah, I don't think so. All right, Tampa Bay hosting Atlanta.
Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley could be in play. I don't know what to make of Tampa. Do you have like a read on Tampa? Like, I could see this being a 1/2 situation again, just like we saw Brady last week. Not like the blowout, but just get Brady and the guys out there for 1/2 and then sit him for the second half. So I don't love the Tampa side, but I would consider Calvin Ridley and probably Russell Gage as well.
Well, I think Tampa needs the win to stay at that
the 5 seed.
At the 5 seed.
I mean, then you lock and load Tampa Bay everywhere.
Yeah.
There's so many playoff scenarios that are like, I'm not confident that the Rams are going to win. So like, they're not going to jump the Bucks. Um,
Yeah,
who else
Rams
could?
aren't going to jump the Bucks. Nobody else is going to jump the Bucks. So I agree with you. I think, halfway, you pad the lead a little bit. You try and sit back on some defense. It is, Atlanta, you take the wind out of their sails a little bit. So I'm with you on the halfway thing. I don't know how Bruce Arians is really
Right.
going to handle it. So Green Bay, Chicago, for me, everybody's in play in this game.
Yep. 100%.
Everybody's in play on both sides of the field.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. This is one of the more stackable games we have on the slate.
Vegas, Denver. We talked about that before. Anybody from the Vegas side? You had Derek Carr in the quarterback coach.
Yeah, I like Derek Carr, pairing him up with Nelson Aguilar. They've obviously been tremendous down the field. Carr throws a very nice deep ball. Aguilar obviously can go get him. So I like both those guys in a stack.
Colts, Jags. We know that we already said Phillip Rivers we're okay with. We're good with Jonathan Taylor, possibly T.Y. Hilton there. What about on the Jags side? I mean, obviously nobody's starting Mike Glennon, but DJ Chark had a decent game this past week. Yeah, DJ Chark, I guess, is the only name really coming out of Jacksonville, right?
And he might not even play. I guess Dario Ogunbowale, he played 70% of the snaps and had 14 touches or 17 touches. I don't hate that, but like, the Colts defense is also very good. So
Yeah.
Do we want to play him? No, but I mean, 17 touches is 17 touches, no matter how you slice it, especially at the running back position.
All right, we talked Chargers in Kansas City. Arizona at the Rams. All right, so these are two teams who both desperately need that win. Kyler Murray came out today and said that he was playing, that he's going to be good to go. I don't know how you invest in any of the Rams at all. Like Goff with the thumb, Cooper Kupp's not going to play. I'm sure that there's going to be, Darrell Henderson is out as well. I can't really get behind this Rams team at all. But would you consider stacking up some Cardinals?
So I put Kyler Murray as my fade this week at the quarterback position, and I don't trust the health. I don't trust the matchup. I mean, the Rams are top 5 against both the pass and the rush. And if Kyler Murray is like, if that leg is acting up and he's trying to just play through an injury and he can't utilize his strengths, then I don't see him being a pocket passer against this Rams defense. So I don't love Murray. Maybe like playing DeAndre Hopkins as a one-off is fine. Or, Christian Kirk finally had like a revitalization last week, or maybe you play a running back, but I don't like Kyler Murray. If he bites me in the butt, sure. I did tweet earlier this year, I'm never fading Kyler Murray again. Well, you know what? I'm going against my word here, Howard, and I'm fading Kyler Murray in week 17. Whatever. It's just, how can you go back to the well he threw 50 times and he only had 247 yards last week. So I don't trust him here against a tough defense with an injury.
Okay, I can understand that, no doubt about it. What about trusting Russell Wilson? This Seattle offense has just been garbage for the last 5-6 weeks now.
I mean, the history of Russell Wilson in cold weather is very prominent, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. So I mean, it may not be cold in San Francisco on Sunday, but I don't love Russell Wilson.
They're playing in Arizona.
Oh, right. They're playing in Arizona. Okay, duh. I like CJ Beathard more, honestly, just as a punt. I have him in the playbook. Give me CJ Beathard as a punt. I mean, that's also because value tier is garbage week 17. So I like Beathard, and I'd probably spend up on other guys. Like I told you I love Lamar Jackson, and we love Aaron Rodgers, and so I don't know. I don't love Russell Wilson. Another situation where maybe you play Metcalf as a one-off, or do we actually trust Chris Carson? No. So.
All right. Saints traveling to Carolina. We already know that Carolina is going to be without a couple of left tackles. They're going to be without a few running backs. So nothing on the Carolina side here. I mean,
No.
Teddy Bridgewater is going to be running for his life against this Saints defense. But now you're talking about Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara. Um, that I don't even want to say, like, that's the thing. I can't even say Drew Brees. Like, I won't even say Drew Brees because Kamara is going to be running the ball heavily, I'm sure, and B, whenever they get down there in the end, I don't understand this love for Taysom Hill. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. Zero.
He has something on Sean Payton. Let's just put it like that. There has to be something that he knows about Sean Payton that no one else does. But how about a lock and load on the Saints D at 3,400 against Carolina in all formats? Probably the play when we're considering, like you just said, fifth string left tackle and Rod Smith at running back, and then you just probably play Kamara. You could probably play Jared Cook, but like, do you want to pay $4,700 for Jared Cook? I feel like that's a little steep, but especially when you can go down and get Irv Smith for $3,900. But yeah, it's probably Kamara and the defense, and that's a great correlation anyway. Defense and running back. So maybe as a contrarian GPP play, you go Latavius Murray.
See, that's the one I like a lot. Yeah, Latavius Murray being that in play. I think that's a great call. But
they're playing for the 1 seed though. Like, they can still, right? Can't they still? Oh no, Green Bay beat them, so they can't even. Okay, so they're either 2 or 3 then. So they do have, I guess. Do you think that factors into their decision to play everyone? Because if they lose and Seattle wins, they're now the 3 seed. Kind of like,
I don't think New Orleans wants to go down to the 3 seed. I mean, you look at who the teams are sitting at the bottom. I mean, if we can just kind of project maybe what the NFC is going to look like, if you got Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, let's just say for the sake of argument that it's the football team for the NFC East, and they're the 4 seed. To me, I look at this, 5, 6, and 7 as being Tampa Bay. I could see it being Chicago and Arizona.
Yeah, it's probably, the Rams. Get the Rams out of there with Walford at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case. So if you're looking at that, if it's that aspect of it, then Tampa's the 5. Chicago is has the tiebreaker over Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean that New Orleans can sit there and either say, all right, we're either going to, do we want to play Arizona or do we want to play Chicago? And which defense would you rather see if you're Sean Payton?
I mean, you want to see Arizona.
Yeah.
They did beat Chicago already once this year, and that was actually a pretty competitive game. I think it was Sunday Night Football.
You look at what Chicago's been doing lately, and granted the end of their schedule has been like super soft.
Right.
But you're still building momentum out of that.
Fair. Yeah. Texans, Vikings, Jaguars. You don't think that was a tough finish to Matt Nagy's season?
Right? Who did he pay off to end up with that schedule there? Last game then for the slate then for DFS for main slate is Tennessee and Houston. Again, I mean, Tennessee, if Tennessee loses, they could actually get bounced out of the playoffs. So like, this is must win for them no matter what. So I mean, how do you not, like, those are the eggs in the basket that I want to do. Like, I want to stack that way, and then I want to sprinkle in some of the other intriguing plays. Like, I'll throw in a Latavius Murray in that one there, and and kind of be happy with that. Yeah. Oh man, how do you fit Devontae Adams in there too?
I mean, you just do, like, you just find a way to do it.
You find a freaking way. There it is. There it is. We're going to drop the mic on that one there. All right, guys, and girls, I will have a watch list out at some point. Maybe after today's news cycle finishes, I'll stay up extra late. And by that, I mean 9:00 p.m. If I don't pass out on the couch, I'll be able to have that out for you. But you will have at least Thursday and Friday to kind of look through it. You'll also, obviously, then the Saturday playbook will be out for you guys. Check out James Grande's work, not just for NFL. Check it out for NBA as well. Babyface, John and Pemba, Sean Mitchell. They're dominating the DFS space right now. So make sure you check it out. Also, the MLB Draft Guide. Pre-order that sucker. Huh? FantasyAlarm.com/MLB Draft Guide. It looks good.
Sure does.
Good. So that's going to do it for us here today. Big thanks to John and Pemba for doing the production work. For James Grande, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.